Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. By the way, I have a new article over at the Huffington Post. You want to find it fast, all you have to do is put in super rich in a Google search, and it'll pop up. Probably number one article right now, thanks to the powerful reach of Huffington Post. It's about the super rich and their strange allies. Let us talk a little bit about this topic with my good friend Tony Powers, because Tony and I have talked about it both on this show and on his program. Tony is with italkus.com, the syndicated radio network. Plus, he hosts a show there in the Georgia, South Carolina region, and we just love to chat with each other. How are you, my friend?
Oh, right on the ragged edge of incredible as usual. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing great, and you keep that up and you'll be in jail under this regime. I'm sure happiness is about to be outlawed. And you are, celebrating a milestone in your life. Happy birthday this week.
Well, thank you. Yeah, actually, I played the Beatles when I'm 64 as bumper music the other day, and in actually minutes.
Wow, no way.
So tell me, Kevin.
That's fantastic. Congratulations, 64. I wouldn't have put you a day over 44. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, the Huffington Post did an article about you?
No, I write a column for the Huffington Post.
Oh, I thought the super rich.
Oh, no. If I were super rich, I'd be a Democrat. Yeah, after all, they're the only ones that can afford those kind of policies.
That's right.
And that was the whole thesis of my article, is that, like, for example, this whole deal of the guy at Costco says, yeah, we should raise minimum wage to $11. I pay my employees more than that. And what it does is that, it conveys this warm and fuzzy look how we take care of them. Those bad, smaller businesses are just greedy. The reality is, it's a form of protectionism. It's a great way of knocking out the competition when the crony capitalists, big businesses, go into cahoots with the government to oust the small and medium-sized business.
Well, the Democrats are in trouble when their big issue is the minimum wage or contraceptives. And the fact is, and the sad thing is they go for these populist ideas, and everybody, who could be against raising the minimum wage? Because it just sounds so good. Why would anybody want poor people to make less money or unskilled laborers to make less money? Of course you want them to make more money. But the fact is, it means fewer of them have jobs. They fail to mention that part. It's just something they like to leave out, is the actual financial reality of what that's going to mean for people, poor people especially.
Well, the thing about it, you of course are right, and I say shame on the business owner who, when he hands out pink slips letting employees go because of minimum wage increases, for not telling their employees why it happened. Shame on them. And I say shame on these business owners for not putting on their bills, on their receipts, we pay X amount of taxes, which you covered in your purchases today. Thank you for your purchase. Thank you for paying our federal taxes. Because we need to educate the population out there on the way economic reality works.
Well, yeah, it's kind of a twofer for poor people, because they lose jobs, they lose hours, they have their hours cut back because small businesses can't afford the higher minimum wage. And then, of course, they lose economic spending power with the less money that they now have. So it causes prices to go up, as you pointed out, because if you're paying your employees $8 an hour or $7.25 or whatever the minimum wage is now, and then suddenly you have to pay them $11 an hour, well, if that's a 40-hour-a-week employee, you're suddenly $120 that you've got to cover somewhere. And if you have 50 employees, do the math, somebody's got to pay it, and it just gets passed on to the consumer.
Yep, the hapless consumer, and unfortunately people don't get it. Let's tax the rich more. And so essentially a tax on business is really only a tax on jobs, really, if you think about it.
Well, yeah, it's a tax on jobs, and of course it causes inflation. So people in the middle class and people who have lower incomes are are the elderly who are on fixed incomes. They all suffer. The rich don't suffer because, again, they just pass those costs on to the consumers and their customers. So to them, sure, if you have a huge business and you're very wealthy and your company is doing great, you may be able to afford that, but you don't really afford it. You just pass that cost along.
Yep, no question about it. Talking to my friend Tony Powers. We're going to take a break here in a minute, but we're going to come back with more of you. I'd like to talk in the next segment. Let's focus about some of the things you're talking about on your program. By the way, you can learn more about Tony at italkus.com. Thanks so much, my friend.
Well, thank you. I look forward to coming back.
All right, more for you right after this on The Price of Business.